Hello, this is Inksmith, and this is my new setup. I don't know really how well this is going to go over. I do have a microphone now. It's cheap. It doesn't cost a lot. I do have a camera now. It's cheap. It doesn't cost a lot, but any bit of money that I have made on the channel has gone directly back into the channel. I still am only at 5,000 subscribers, but I did make a little bit of money during the Creep Show art videos, so thank you for that. And this is my thank you back at you by improving the channel. I hope it helps. I hope you enjoy it more. If you don't, I can always go back to hiding my face. That's fine. I'm not on here to be any sort of vanity or makeup channel or get ready with me channel. So maybe that's not your cup of tea. I understand. I am sort of a boomer at this point where aesthetics are not the most important part of my life. It's more so managing a job and kids and a family and stuff like that. But I want to get the ramble out of the way. Let's jump into what we're covering today. And today is a subject that I've wanted to cover for quite some time because it's a very hideous, disgusting aspect of YouTube's dark past. And it's not YouTube's fault, not whatsoever at all, but it does rely on the sort of emo or scene kid past that was propagated somewhat on YouTube. And one of those people connected to that sphere, I guess you would say, that influential aspect of the emo and scenester kids, Dahvie Vanity, a very disgusting character who I hope I can make this video today to keep everyone away from, and just kind of warn kids who are watching my channel, and when I say kids, I mean just pretty much anyone under 18, stay away from this man. He is still a predator online. He was a predator from the past that was part of YouTube and the music scene within emo stuff and dance, EDM, electronic, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's given it so many different group and genre names. I don't know what to label him as anymore, but I know he's still out there. He's still making music and he's still a predator. And that's why I want to talk about him today. To find out exactly who is Dahvie Vanity. Well, let's begin. Born Jesus David Torres, Dahvie Vanity was a founding member of the group of Blood on the Dance Floor. After becoming popular on MySpace as the elite hair god, Blood on the Dance Floor's bold look, spiky and colorful hair, electropop crunkcore sound, and Warped Tour appearances, as well as affiliation with Jeffree Star, yes, the YouTuber Jeffree Star, made them synonymous with scene culture in the early 2010s. The group was decently popular, and a 2011 video for the song Bewitched still to this day holds over 24 million views, so not anything to scoff at. As of April 2019, the reportedly 35-year-old singer was living with his parents in Florida. Vanity has rebanded the Blood on the Dance Floor YouTube page as Kawaii Monster, a stage name under which he has been releasing new music since last year. The brand, The Dark Arts, is the name of his label behind it. He sells items like dark ribcage hoodie with bat ears, a cloak sweatsuit, and a Kawaii Monster album and merch. Blood on the Dance Floor merch as well is still being sold on there. A little bit strange. Like, that's cool. I don't care what people's style are all throughout their life. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing all black now. I wear all black almost every single day because it's my color of choice. But there is a time, especially when you're in a band and that band falters and their popularity is no longer granted to them, that it might be time to hang up the ribcage hoodie, if you know what I mean, okay? If I was a 40-year-old scenester at my life, I think my wife would be a little bit upset and would have every right to be, as there's not a lot of future in that for me and also for Dahvie Vanity. Let's continue. In August 2018, Metal Sucks published an expose detailing specific allegations of sexual assaults against Vanity by multiple women, many who were very underage at the time. Several of the girls described incidents when Vanity physically overpowered them, forced them to perform oral sex, and perform other acts of sexual violence, as well as described emotionally abusive behavior of blatant manipulation and grooming. That investigation also cited a 2009 arrest for sexual assault, as well as claims from former full-time tour mate Jeffree Star and Ash Costello of New Year's Day that Vanity engaged in inappropriate behavior with underage girls in their presence. By December of 2018, HuffPost had spoken to 12 women who claimed Vanity had assaulted them between 2006 and 2015, including experiences by girls as young as 13. Guys, I'm going to repeat that. 13. That's insanely disgusting and horrid. And as of April 2019, 21 women had accused Vanity of sexual assault per a follow-up investigation by the HuffPost. Now, has Dahvie Vanity acknowledged any of these accusations? Yes, several times, including before the major expose on Vanity were published. He posted defensive remarks on social media numerous times and has even embedded them in the band's lyrics. The 2010 Blood on the Dance Floor song, You Done Goofed, claims your fiction trash talking is done out of hate, quote unquote. These are lyrics from the song, if you don't know. But I'm about to murder it all. I'm about to eradicate. Look at me, I'm beautiful, not a suspect of rape. Well, wonderful. I guess if his lyrics say it, then he must be free of all allegations, right? No, I don't think so. The 2013 song, Crucified by Your Lies, includes lyrics like, bitches with their lies almost pushed me to suicide. Call me a rapist. Here's the truth. Can you take it? My name and reputation won't be the target of a slut. So not only does he completely refuse any of the accusations made against him, he also goes into blaming the victims that he made himself. And not only that, harassing them with the lyrics of his new songs. And the sad thing about this is a lot of his fans who still follow him to this day get behind his back on this stuff and even usher the same sort of threats to the people who have made the accusations against him. Now, guys, I have studied a million of these cases at this point. I'm on video number 200, for Christ's sakes. And there's one thing I can tell you. I come into all of these completely objective to whoever I'm covering. And the one thing that always holds true every time I do one of these is that the people who turn out to be innocent usually only have maybe one accusation against them from one accuser who has little to no evidence whatsoever at all. And that's usually when you see them get cleared and the person who accused them kind of disappear into the ether, kind of like with the Angry Joe accusations, where it turned out she had no evidence about anything. There had been millions of people around him the whole time he had been at the party that she accused him of being assaulted at. And it turned out, she didn't have a leg to stand on. But when it always stands true is the times where you see multiple women come forward, or even worse, multiple young girls. And that's because at the time, they're so terrorized by whoever their rapist, their attacker, the person who harmed them was, that they probably have too much anxiety, too much nervousness, and it's too hard for them to come forward and deal with these very adult situations that a kid should not have to deal with. When they finally do come forward, it comes out en masse, and that's when you know almost 100% of the time a person is guilty. And this is what we're seeing here. We're seeing multiple people come forward and not only accuse, but other people who toured with this man accuse him of the same horrible accusations. And I think there's other cases where I'm still kind of up in the air. Like, for example, the Marilyn Manson case. I'm still not 100% sure Marilyn Manson is guilty. So I'm not someone to just come on here and blast someone with a little bit of evidence and nothing that has been proven and nothing that has been backed up by other people on tour with him at the time. But with this one, it comes from all angles. People who were on tour, people who were watching him, people who were fans, girls that he hung out with after show, girls who came backstage, other band members. So it's bad, okay? Let's put it that way. Have there been consequences? To an extent, in 2014, industrial band Combikreis removed Blood on the Dance Floor as their opening act, citing concerns over the group's past behavior. Following HuffPost's initial report, online retailer Big Cartel ended its business with Vanity, though he appears to still sell merch via Shopify. In April 2019, Billboard reported that Spotify pulled Blood on the Dance Floor. Let me say that again. In April 2019, Billboard reported that Spotify pulled Blood on the Dance Floor's music for violating its prohibited content guidelines and not explicitly because of the allegations. While that remains the case for Blood on the Dance Floor's music, Vanity's new work under the name Kawaii Monster is available on Spotify. So, is Blood on the Dance Floor still around? Not really. In 2016, Javon Monroe, the other half of Blood on the Dance Floor, announced he was leaving the group, citing creative differences over the sexual nature of Vanity's lyrics and the codependent Weird Daddy relationship between him and Vanity as reasons for the split. Though Vanity's then-girlfriend, Fallen Vendetta, temporarily joined him in rebooting Blood on the Dance Floor in 2017, as of today, Vanity is Blood on the Dance Floor's only member. So, what about that Chris Hansen thing I mentioned earlier? Since October, the former MSNBC host has used YouTube to have a seat with Chris Hansen, in which he has investigated sexual misconduct and grooming allegations against the controversial YouTuber Oni-san, which I'm sure you guys have all heard about. As he announced in a recent video, the series will resume this week, and it seems like we can expect even bigger investigations than Oni-san put forward. But no dice on that. That never happened. If you don't actually know, pretty much Chris Hansen was dealing with not only his own sort of legal problems at the time when this all erupted, but it also turned out one of his cameramen and the people, quote unquote, doing research for him turned out to be a little bit sketchy. So he himself has lost a lot of credibility when it comes to tracking down these creeps on the internet. But for me, this was something I really wanted to cover. And this was something I also wanted to get out there for the victims. Let's talk a little bit about that, because the victims are what is most important in this case. They're the ones who deserve a voice. All right, so the victims. This is a part that's very hard to read for me, and not a part that I enjoy, but a part that I feel is necessary for people to fully grasp exactly what this monster has done. And I'm going to start with an anonymous quote from someone who was not only exposing him, but who was friends with some of the victims who were pretty much harassed, tortured, abused, whatever you want to say, by this guy. And it's pretty heavy, and I do want to issue a trigger warning from here on out, because the stuff we're about to get into, it's not to be taken lightly. I would like very much to expose Dahvie Vanity and all the bullshit he has done. When I was a fan of his back in 2012, I very much idolized him. I thought he was cute, funny, a great singer, and nice to the fans. I genuinely thought this. Young BOTDF, that's Blood on the Dance Floor fans, have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Some girl I knew confided in me that she would gladly have sex with Dahvie Vanity despite being only 14. If this is the influence one pedophile has left on multiple people, think about how much more could be tricked into believing that this and even more horrific crimes are okay to do. I want nothing more than for him to be brought to justice. He has gotten away with far too much, and I know he could continue getting away with it if no one directly presses charges. My father had sex with my babysitter when I was 3. He was 30 and the girl was 14. My mother was so embarrassed and so scared that she would be the laughingstock of town and that we would grow up without a dad, so she went with my father to the babysitter's house and begged the parents not to press charges. The girl cried while my father blamed her and claimed that she came on to him. 15 years later, when I brought it up to the police, they told me there was nothing they could do about it. Apparently, since I was not the one he had had sex with, I could not bring him to justice. If anyone has had this experience with Dahvie Vanity, I would like to encourage you to bring him to court and finally give him what he deserves. You can stop him from claiming another victim, from scarring another girl, from being a role model for young, unknowing girls. Please, you can save another girl from going through this. Imagine if someone could have saved you. Be strong, and I wish peace upon anyone who has been unwillingly touched by anyone else. So this is a victim or a friend of a victim. We're not clearly told, but it's anonymous. And the quote comes from someone who obviously dealt with a very similar situation in their own life and realizes what a horrible person, I guess in this case, their dad was for doing the same type of thing that Dahvie did. And because of all this, she wants to look out for younger fans. And that's great because I think that's something that needs to be done. When you're young, when you're impressionable, I know, I get it. Like, there was so many singers I looked up to. I thought they were ultra cool. Anytime I heard anything that was bad about them, I'd be like, no, that can't be. I've listened to the person's music and it's just too good, and they're just too talented, and they have so much that they could be working on. Why would they ever be working on this horrible behind the scenes pedophilia stuff? Guys, it happens in all career paths. It's not just a music thing. But the problem is a lot of music or stars or Hollywood stars or people of power within fame and media can get away with it because there's people behind him who back him up and say, no, this guy's too great, too talented, and too awesome. They have a army of protectors almost. And the reason a lot of other people within other jobs, they get caught right away is because they don't have this army of protectors. So this is what we've got to fight against while we're looking into this whole thing. So keep that in mind if you're wondering, why exactly hasn't this guy been put in jail? Why has nobody actually taken him to court? Well, this is why. Look how long it took Weinstein to go to jail. I mean, he wasn't actually thrown away and the key locked up, or Cosby for that matter. How old was he when he finally went to jail? It took his accusers decades and decades to get these people thrown away. And if that's what it takes with Dahvie, so what? So be it. If it goes quicker, I would love it. But no matter what, I want to see some kind of justice. And if I can't get justice, then I want to try to at least protect future fans. The first allegation dates back to 2007, when Dahvie was investigated for an incident of forced oral sex with a 14-year-old when he was 22. The case closed after the reported victim refused to cooperate with the prosecution. He had done the same thing to numerous girls over the years, many of which have spoken out against him. In 2018, Metal Sucks published an expose detailing specific allegations of sexual assaults by Dahvie Vanity on multiple women, many of whom were underage at the time. Several of the girls described incidents when Vanity physically overpowered them, forced them to perform oral sex, and perform other acts of sexual violence, as well as described emotionally abusive behavior of blatant manipulation and grooming. The investigation also cited a 2009 arrest for sexual assault, as well as claims from former tourmates like Jeffree Star and Ash Costello. So once again, we're seeing that come up. Jessie Slaughter, rape, and cyberbullying. Everything you said was a lie. We watched as the world watched you cry. Blood on the dance floor. You done goofed. So that's a lyric from one of his songs, and it's quoting Jessie Slaughter. If you don't know her whole story, maybe that's a video for another time, but that's also a very sad situation where a girl meddling with 4chan got herself into a world of trouble. And, well, it led to a lot of famous memeable quotes, but at the same time, that girl's life did not turn out well. One of the most infamous people Dahvie had a sexual relationship with was Damian Leonardo, formerly known as Jessie Slaughter, who was a big fan of the group Blood on the Dance Floor, and was only 11 years old at the time. One day, Dahvie forced Jessie to give him a blowjob, because Jessie was underage at the time. She did not know how to give a blowjob and hadn't had sex ed class yet, so she had to be instructed on how to give a blowjob. Dahvie cared more about her body than her thoughts and her feelings. After Jessie uploaded a video featuring her dad Gene ranting to his daughter's haters, Dahvie decided to make a parody of the video featuring himself as a dad and Jay as Jessie. Both Gene's rants and Dahvie's parody of the video went viral, causing Jessie to revive more hate. Due to the amount of cyberbullying she was receiving, Good Morning America did an interview with Jessie and her family, but only focused on the cyberbullying and completely ignored Dahvie's involvement. Days later, Dahvie made a song based on the drama called You Done Goofed, which was spitefully released on her 12th birthday. The song contained vulgar and horrific lyrics which made fun of Jessie, which would later cause her to attempt suicide on the same day of the song's release. The song also caused Blood on the Dance Floor's fan base to attack Jessie as well, eventually causing her to release a fake apology on August 11th, 2011, in an attempt to get the fan base to leave her alone. Dahvie had successfully managed to keep the rape side of the story hidden from everyone, and nobody believed Jessie was telling the truth as a result. Now, her story is a pretty well-known story at this point. I'm sure you've heard the quote, "You done goofed," and there's a reason behind the whole thing that you have heard behind that meme. If you want to look into it further, you really should. This is kind of a tragic tale that's kind of been mocked over the years, and it's something that still deserves justice to this day. Dahvie was successful at his nearly 10 years, but in 2020, his involvement finally got exposed. On March 25th, 2020, Chris Hansen did an interview with Jesse, known as Damien at the time, discussing Dahvie, and received a huge amount of support from the YouTube community, and people finally started to believe her after almost 10 years. She did another interview about Dahvie's actions with the YouTuber Repzilla, and has since done numerous other interviews with other YouTubers discussing Dahvie's crimes. So finally she's starting to get the word out there. That's how a lot of us found out even about this and just how disgusting Dahvie was. Chris Hansen never did ever follow up, like I talked about before. Luckily, Repzilla did, and I think it was great that he actually gave her a voice. I know a lot of people give that guy a lot of shit in the YouTube community. No matter what you think of him, it's great that he's given victims voices in the past. Abuse towards Jay Von Monroe. In addition to his sexual crimes, Dahvie also abused his former bandmate, Jay Von Monroe. He denied him access to medication after being diagnosed with HIV and forced him to perform. He gave him heavy physical and emotional abuse and kept him from contacting his family and pushed him to near starvation. Jay quit Blood on the Dance Floor in 2016 and has since made rants against Dahvie and his actions on Twitter. Now, that's just another aspect, and I wanted to give it from a male perspective too, that this guy knows no bounds when it comes to hurting, harassing, torturing, and abusing victims all around him. No, it isn't just women, it's other bandmates who are men too. This is a guy who was in desperate need of medication for his HIV at the time. He was starving due to the fact that he had to eat a specific diet that was very nutrition based, and he was like in a living hell being put on tour. I don't know if you yourself have ever been in a band and on tour before, but it's not easy to get access to a lot of stuff because you're constantly on the move. And this guy was amidst all kinds of things that he needed at the time and unable to get to them just because they were kept away from him by Dahvie, who was then forcing him to perform instead. And of course, this guy doesn't have a lot of love for him either. And in fact, if you go back and research quite a lot of Dahvie's past, you'll find he has little to no friends from that time in his life. The next victim I want to cover is a woman known as Elizabeth Faubourg, who also knew Blood on the Dance Floor and was their merch person who sold their t-shirts for a while as well. Faubourg says she met Dahvie Vanity when she was 12 years old while they were on tour, and they became friends online. Once they were living in the same city, they became even closer, and that's when she eventually started to work for the group and become the merch person. She says her experience with him never involved anything overly sexual until she turned 18. He allegedly made remarks about her looks, but nothing physical happened until her birthday. On her 18th birthday, Vanity and the group of his friends were planning to go out drinking at his home. He allegedly got her alone in his room to help him with his makeup when he started touching her chest. She then describes her own experience of Vanity forcing her into performing oral sex without consent. He allegedly told her to never tell anyone or he would kill her. Furthermore, Faubourg says she asked if she wanted to do that since she met him and if she wanted to press charges. He allegedly... Restart from here. Further, Faubourg says she asked if he had wanted to do that since she met him. He allegedly said yes, and when confronted about meeting her at age 12, he said yeah, he knew her age, and yes, he even wanted to do it back then. She iterates the point that Dahvie Vanity's manipulation involves befriending her parents and making himself seem like just a friend until he crosses a line. Another situation where a girl has been attacked, abused, and pretty much given trauma just from dealing with this guy. Next up, we've got Jessalyn Cook. Cook explains her thoughts on why Vanity is still able to get away with what he's been doing by saying he's had police investigations against him that didn't go anywhere. She says during her reporting of what he had done, she came across a police officer who dropped the case claiming there wasn't enough evidence, and the victim wished they pursued it further. Elsewhere in the interview, three guests discuss the harassment they've received through speaking out and why they didn't reach out to the police anymore. And that's something that comes up again and again and again, is that the victims who came forward during the time that Dahvie Vanity and Blood on the Dance Floor was so popular constantly faced abuse from the fans of Dahvie and went silent for such a long time because of this. And this wasn't a small group. This was literally like the only people on the internet at the time. Scenesters were huge at the beginning of the internet. There was Makeout Club. There was MySpace, there was LiveJournal, there were so many things scenesters and emo kids were into. I was more into the hardcore and like metalcore scene and stuff like that, but I had my emo friends, I had my scenester friends. This is my whole deal when I was this age, and I had heard about Blood on the Dance Floor and that this guy was pretty evil, and it all turns out to be true. And luckily for me, I guess I didn't have any friends who were trapped by this because, like I said, we were more into the metalcore scene and the hardcore scene. But if I had, I would definitely have wanted them to reach out to the police. The only update we have right now, and this is kind of sad to hear, the only update is the FBI are supposedly looking into Dahvie Vanity. And this is just alleged, reported from sources like Vice and Huffington Post. And, you know, I don't know how much investigation that means. Are they just like saying, oh, okay, we'll take a note that this guy's been reported in multiple states for sexual assaults and things like that? Or are they actually doing a really deep investigation that's going to turn something up and finally lock this guy away for years? That's what I hope it is. But at the same time, I mean, what we've already seen is the police doing little to nothing to this guy and him getting away with a bunch of stuff. Sadly, there is also sometimes a limit on how long victims can come forward and report this stuff, which is horrible to hear about. So we will never truly know until we see justice come, if it ever will come, for Dahvie Vanity. And if it doesn't, the only thing I can do is warn people about him. He's still out there. He's still making music. He's still got fans. He's still got groupies. He's still got people following him. If you or a friend or anyone you know, or if you hear like you got like a little sister or a little brother or anybody listening to Kawaii Monster, let them know this guy's past, okay? If you have anybody who ever picks up an old record of Blood on the Dance Floor or something like that, starts blasting it, let them know who the person is behind that band. Let them know what a kind of monster this guy really is, and spread the word. If you can spread it in any way and every way, even if it's not through this video, if it's through just letting people know about the band itself and this guy's disgusting past, I beg you to do so. I do not want to see more people molested, traumatized, hurt, groomed, whatever, by this creepola. All right, he's been out there for a while now. He's gotten away with more than even what I've mentioned in here. There's even more reports that weren't even filed, that were just reports from person to person, or people being interviewed person to person with like these small club mags or like within scenester band rags as well. So there's a lot more out there, and I encourage you to research more if you're interested in finding out how despicable and disgusting this guy is. If I get a response on this, or I get some kind of way that someone says, I know a way that you can signal boost this and get more of the word out there, let me know. I would love to warn more people about Dahvie Vanity. This is the whole reason I started my channel, was to remind the internet that these creeps exist out there and to be careful. Protect yourself, protect your kids if you've got them, protect your younger brothers and sisters if you got them, whoever you know that would get into a scene. And there's always creeps within every scene. There's creeps within the YouTube galaxy, and there's many within the music one as well. Until next time, I've been the Inksmith. Guys, I hope you enjoy this new setup. If you didn't, that's okay. Just let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to criticism, as you guys know. If you do like this, I will continue it this way. Until next time, have a great rest of the day.